the onrush of the creative process, whether we are to understand it in terms of scriptural descriptions of creation, or we try to understand it in the light of the discoveries of modern science, the consequence is similar. There is an externalizing, compulsive force operating throughout the cosmos. Grossly, it manifests itself as gravitation, against which nobody can stand. The gravitational pull of the outward rush of creative activity includes also the operations of the minds of individuals who are mostly bodily conditioned, so that we think in terms of our bodies and not independently. The constitution of the physical organism influences the mind to such an extent we cannot think independently of the compulsion exerted upon the mind by the physical constitution. Scriptural descriptions of the creative process or the findings of modern science in this connection appear to tell us something very strange that must have happened and is happening even just now. The one indivisible force split into two parts, the positive and the negative of creation. Every scripture says this. And the bang that you speak of in modern scientific language is just this indescribable split of the one undivided originality into a segment of positive and negative characteristics. When the indivisible one becomes true apparently, there is a double activity taking place simultaneously. The consciousness of the separation of one thing from the other, and the consciousness of it being impossible for half of it without having any connection with the other. This original cosmic predicament is reflected in the lowest of social activities of human beings, so that we wish to be alone to ourselves on the one hand and find it at the same time it is not possible to be totally, literally alone to ourselves without contact with external things. It is the activity of the one and the many operating one at the same time. If the one indivisibility has become two, two have become four. 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, 16 becomes 32, 32 becomes 64, such that the onrush of diversification, pressure towards externality, compels itself to reach to the lowest level possible until it reaches the utter externality of materiality down to the atoms and the electrons and the particles of sand, so that the impulsion to objectification, diversification, seems to be a tendency to destroy itself completely, so that there is a cosmic death, you may say, in the utter finality of the creative process. This is what is known as pravritti dharma, the natural tendency of creation to engage itself in outwardly motivated activity. Pravritti lakshano dharmaha nivrittistu mahabhala, says the Smriti. It is a natural tendency of everyone to act according to the law of this descending, precipitating, onward movement of creative force. But if it is possible for you to resist this onward rush of externalizing tendency, you will be more blessed. It is what they call in tantric language, wrongly interpreted, Vama Achara, the return process. Vama Achara does not mean left-hand path. It is the return process of the current of externalization in creation. Inasmuch as nobody can stand outside this process of onward movement of creative energy, we are helplessly driven like insects floating in the onrush of a powerful flooded river which carries with it elephants and insects and whatever, logs of wood, and nobody can stand the onrush of the waters of a flowing river. It is like the flowing river. Create, says Brahma in the Srimad Bhagavata Mahapurana. Let me create, says God in heaven in the biblical language. Why did this desire arise at all? Let me create. Why should you create? It is an indescribable potential seed of outwardness which is supposed to be inexplicably present. Whatever be the language through which you speak about it, nobody can explain why creation has taken place. It is a tendency to destruction, self-annihilation in the utter externality of material existence. So that what we seek in this world is just a material object, material benefit, material acquisition. Anything that is non-material cannot attract us. We ask a question like a businessman, in what way, in what materially, how I am going to be benefited? What is the material advantage that accrues to me if I do this action? We always use such language. Material benefit is the final benefit. Any other benefit is not. We do not consider increase in understanding and knowledge is of any worth. Because an attempt at the increase of the wisdom and the understanding of life is an inwardizing process of the mind, whereas the asking for material gains of any kind is an externalizing force. As we are ourselves bodily just a heap of material elements, we are compelled to think in terms of this material embodiment only. Matter asks for matter. The body which is material seeks material contact. It does not want anything else. This is called pravritti dharma, or the externalizing tendency in creation. Philosophically, in Indian parlance, we say the universally spread out, ubiquitous, absolute Brahman became a potential to creation called Ishvara. In the same way as a painter would stiffen with starch the otherwise clean canvas of a cloth. Painting begins with a background of a clean background of a cloth, a canvas. The externalizing process takes place when we stiffen it with starch, so that the porous structure of the cloth is filled in by the starch that you spread. It becomes stiff a little bit. The first step in externalizing the cloth is the stiffening of the very same cloth with starch. A further externalization takes place, which is the drawing of outline of the picture on the stiffened, starchy background of the canvas. With a pencil, the artist starts sketching the pattern which he would like to present as a piece of beautiful artistic presentation. Then what happens? A further externalization takes place by filling this sketch with color and ink, and we have a fully manifested externalized form of the painting, by looking at which we completely forget the outline behind, forget the starch, forget even the screen itself. When we see the painting, we cannot see the canvas. When you go for a moving picture show, you cannot at that time see that there is a screen behind. When you see the world, you cannot see God. When you see God, you cannot see the world. If you go on concentrating on the canvas and the screen behind, the show will not be interesting because your mind is diverted to the background and not to the actual performance. But if you are concentrated on the movement of the shadows or pictures, you cannot at the same time think of the background that it is. So is the case with us in everyday life. When we are engrossed in the perception of the material things in the world, the background of it is completely forgotten. When you look at the Virat, the color-filled, painted picture of creation is actually this visible cosmos. Originally, the cosmos was not a visible object because there was no one to observe it or see it. The seeing principle gets involved in the very process of the manifestation in creation. The grosser you become, the grosser is the manifestation process, the greater is the tendency to segregate, cut the subject from the object, seer from the seen, the inside from the outside, the top from the bottom, the right from the left. Everything is scattered in such a manner that a person who looks at the world with his eyes cannot know what is there at all. This distracted presentation of the variety of creation is the cause for the flitting of the mind from one thing to another. No one can keep quiet looking at one thing only, because every little thing looks equally good. So no one can sit in one place. You have to go on moving from place to place. Cannot be satisfied with any one kind of endeavor. We have to go on doing different things continuously, all for the sake of a material gain that is expected to accrue to us by the contact of the material components of our body with the material components of the world outside. It is the Bhagavad Gita that tells us when matter comes in contact with matter, actually it is not two hard substances that come in contact with each other. Two different forces meet each other. The material object, so-called, is a concentrated form of energy. In Sanskrit we call it guna, sattva, rajas and tamas. The forces which constitute the objects of the world, assuming a material form, have three conditions: stasis, dynamism and equilibrium. When there is no activity, a status quo is maintained. It is called thamas. It is status. When this state of complete inactivity, which is status, get disturbed by the activity of rajas, there is diversification of consciousness, and we move our mind in different directions with varieties of desires. But there is a third state which the scientists do not know. We have only statistics and dynamics in science. Equilibrium is unknown to science. When the externalizing impulse and the stabilizing force meet together in harmony, there is an equilibrium created. That is called sattva in Sanskrit. So these forces, which are the strands of the rope of the object so-called, look like hard material substances. The hardest rock is a bundle of intense vibrations. Due to the intensity of the vibration, we cannot see the porous condition of the object. In the same way, as a very powerfully moving electric fan may look like a status, as if nothing is moving at all. Increase the speed of the fan to the highest point. It will move with such speed, and it will look that it is not moving at all. Because the mind, the perceptual capacity of the eye cannot catch up with the speed of the movement of the fan, the wings of the fan. Why do we see people standing in a moving show picture? There is nobody standing there. It is a rapid movement of pictures rushing with great speed at the rate of about 16 pictures per second, and the rapidity of the movement gives the illusion of a static condition of a particular object as it there. Everything is rapid motion, but the eyes cannot catch this motion. Therefore, the illusion of a stability of a form is created before our eyes. Our eyes are the deceptive media through which we are trying to envisage and judge objects of sense. Since the eyes, in their dull, low potency, vibrational capacity, cannot catch up with the high speed vibration of the objects of the world, we imagine that everything is in one place and not in another place. Actually speaking, the objects are only concretized forms of this threefold energy, and they are touching each other in their essential level. You will find every object is touching every other object in its base. There is a fluidity, as it were, behind the apparently solidity of the perception of objects. But this cannot be observed by the sense organs, since this so-called fluidity of the basic nature of the objects is so rapid in its vibratory motion that the senses cannot catch up with it. If our eyeballs, if the structure of the retina, the perceptual faculty also moves with equal rapidity, you will not see the world at all. Just as two trains moving in equal speed will create the illusion of stability of the two trains. You cannot know which train is moving or anything is moving at all, because two trains are parallelly moving with the same speed. and each one will be looking like a static existence, though it is moving fast. This is the illusion that is created by the externalizing force of creation. One thing becoming multitudinous, and we become helpless because of our notion of isolation from this cosmic drama that is taking place. If you are not an observer of the moving picture, you are one of the participants in the series of moving pictures. You are inside the screen itself. You will never see the movement of the pictures. You are standing outside the movement of the pictures. Therefore, they seem to be moving there. If you are able to counteract this gravitational repulsive process, which takes us away from the center of the universe, and turn our tables round and think in terms of the very structure of the objects of observation, then we will not see objects, we will see our own selves. When we see our own selves, we would not know what type of things we are. God is playing a drama, as it were, in this vast creative process. He remains himself. In the same way as in the dream world, varieties of movements and activities taking place are observed, but the one individual waking mind still exists as it was and never changes, never creates, never absorbs from its own point of view. This is the reason why we say there is an illusoriness potential in the very perceptual activity of the world. The impulse of creation that I mentioned, which is externally motivated, is what grossly known as the gravitational pull. Nobody can resist this pull of gravitation. The mind is pulled towards the body. It cannot think independently, because the material components of the body exert a gravitational influence upon the thinking process also. Therefore, when we think like bodies. And if we want anything, desire something, we want only bodies. Because of this involvement in the externalized onrush of creative process, pravritti dharma, we are unable to concentrate our mind on the ideal of our meditation. Chanchalam yamana kredna pravati balavadranam. Impossible to control in the mind. Impetuous, turbulent is the tendency of the mind to turn back towards the body and towards material components connected with this body in its relation. Turbulent is the whole, impetuous is the mind. It is resisting any kind of attempt to bring it back to the point from where it has arisen. The outward rush is so impulsive as the waters of a flooded river that even elephants cannot stand it, they will be washed away. So any amount of physically conditioned thinking will not be a proper medium for meditation. We have to develop within ourselves a touch of the cosmic in order that we may be saved from this trouble of individual gravitational pull bodily condition. Unless there is an element of God in us, it will be difficult to succeed in this world. Pure devil cannot get on, it is not possible. There must be some spark of light even in the utter darkness of sensory perception. All this means intense austerity of the mind, retention of the mind from its onward movement towards things, and trying to think not in terms of the outwardly located objects, but in terms of the very basis of the creative process, which includes all these objects, our own selves. For the time being, psychologically at least, we have to be cosmically located. Otherwise, the mind will not come round. It is only when your mind gets tuned up to the cosmical situation, it will yield and listen to any kind of advice. It is unable to appreciate the fact that it is not cosmically conditioned. It is wrongly made to believe that it is physically conditioned, bodily conditioned, socially conditioned, financially conditioned, politically conditioned, and every way restricted to physical operations. How would you change the way of thinking into a cosmical fashion? It requires a tremendous effort of the mind. Aneka janma samsiddhas tadva yati param gati. Often it is said that the difficulty involved is so much that we may have to take several births to be able to think in a cosmical fashion. We should not think in terms of our relations, in terms of the objects which pull us in their direction, in terms of the body which also conditions us. Transfer this body with all its affirmations to the vast sea of objects, so that it becomes a member of the cosmic medley of individualities and does not stand in the position of the onlooker of the forest of individuality in front. Let not anyone stand outside this vast forest of individualities, but become one of the plantations in this vast cosmic operation. That is to say, we enter the world rather than look at the world. We make the world our own rather than convert it into an object of perception. Sensory perception is the reason why we are unable to concentrate the mind on anything that is of a universal nature. Senses do not know what universality is. They are wedded to individuality, particularity, segregation, isolation. To make matters worse, we have 5 sense organs. 5 different affirmations are made at the same time. Like a head of a family, pulled in different directions by the members thereof. The individual consciousness inside is pulled in 5 different directions externally by 5 different sense organs. If you see a thing, it is not enough. You have also to hear it. A deaf man does not enjoy the world, though he can see the world. A person who cannot smell cannot enjoy the taste of a dish. If you are caught cold and the nostrils are blocked completely, you will not enjoy your daily meal. You will be wondering what connection. I am eating through the tongue. Why is the nose interfering? They are interconnected. It is necessary for you to touch the food, to hear how it is made, to smell it also, see it and taste it. All things should take place simultaneously. If one limb is not operating, the food is not tasty. You cannot enjoy it. So there is a 5-fold onslaught of sensory activity taking place even in our little contact with a single object of the world. There is a deliberate attempt, as it were, on the part of these 5-fold apertures of sensation to deceive us completely. Every moment we are deceived by the activities of the sense organs which tell us 5 different things. Fortunately, we have only 5 sense organs. Suppose we had 10 or 15, then it would have been still worse. Now, because of the 5 sensations, we are seeing 5 different objects: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Because these 5 elements are the 5 counterparts of the 5 sensations. Suppose we had 100 sensations, we would have seen 100 elements, and there would have been no end for the variety in creation. It does not mean that we are seeing all the variety of creation with the eyes. We see certain limited segment of creation due to the limitation of the sensory activity. If we have got all eyes and all ears and all taste, then we will be just seeing endless cosmic variety of creative dissipation, and we would not know where we are standing. Because only 5 senses are there, we are saved this tragedy. But they are doing enough mischief for us. It is said that sense control is necessary for the purpose of engaging oneself in meditation. What is the meaning of sense control? Do you want to close your eyes, plug your ears, and stuff some cotton into your nose? What is the meaning of sense control? Nothing of the kind is it. You may plug your holes of the sense apparatus. It does not mean these senses have been restrained. The senses are not what you see outwardly. The eyeballs are not the eyesight. There is an impulsion inside, an energy content, a potential for outwardness. That is the sense organ. Whether it is the eye or the ear or whatever it is, the sensation that you feel through this aperture is the sense organ. The sensation is the organ, not the physical fleshy substance which is the organ. So any kind of plugging the nose, etc., or closing the mouth and stuffing the ears will not, because even a blind man will have a desire to see. A deaf man will have a desire to hear. And a person who has lost taste in the tongue will have a desire to eat. Desire cannot be absent merely because the organs are not operating. This is the reason why we must understand, first of all, what is sense control. It is the reversion, the reverting of the very consciousness of wanting a thing through the sense organs and universalizing it. A particularizing tendency of the sense organ is to be absorbed into a universalizing tendency of mental perception. Rather than thinking through a particular sense organ, we should think purely in terms of mind proper. Pure reason, uncontaminated by the influence of sensations, should be our guide. But where is the pure reason? It doesn't operate at all. It is dead already. Usually our reason corroborates and confirms the reports that are supplied to it by the sense organs. If the sensations say it is like this, the reason says yes, it is like that. Impersonally, detachedly, the reason cannot operate. But there are occasions where the reason can operate in an independent manner. For instance, you are feeling that you would like to be much better than what you are now. This is the rational operation. The senses do not tell you like that. No sense organ can tell you that it is better to be more than what you are. It is a pure reason that is operating, that telling you you are a finite individual and you would like to break this finitude. The sensations will not tell that. They are satisfied with finitude. But you have got an internal higher buddhi or intelligence proper, uncontaminated by the reports of the sense organs, which tells you, like a good friend, you are not so important as you think you are. You are a finite non-entity. You are helpless. Your very existence as a finite is due to the cooperation of other finites, like many donkeys joining together and forming a good United Nations organization. It won't help us. The reason is still alive in every one of us. Only it is submerged by the impetuous activities of the sense organs that run outward while the reason moves upward. The reason moves upward in the sense that it tells you that there is something higher than what you are. The infinite does necessarily exist. And this conviction follows from the very acceptance of the fact that you are limited, located in one place. You do not feel happy because you are locked up in one location. You do not like to feel that you are just one Tom, Dick and Harry among many other people. You would like to be much more than this. This desire to be more than what you are is the activity of the higher reason. You are aware that you will die one day, but the higher reason says it is good not to die. You must find out some means of perpetuating yourself eternally. This is the reason's longing. But the senses interfere. Keep quiet. You will die one day and you cannot become immortal. There is a clash between the higher reason, which is our real friend, with the turbulent sense organs. The senses know that the body will perish one day. But the reason tells you there is something in you which is more than the perishable element. How can such a desire to become deathless arise in a world where everything is dying? Every person goes. No one lives forever. In such a world of utter destruction, how is it possible for anyone to develop a tendency to expect deathlessness? That is to say, there is a universalizing force operating within us, an Ishvara Brahman, you may say, as an undercurrent of the activity of externalizing process. We know very well that we will perish together with other perishing objects, but still we have a hope we shall be better. Even if I take another birth, I would like to be a better person in the next birth. This is the desire. Nobody thinks that one should worst next birth. If possible, I shall be wider, larger, tending to infinitude. These are the voices of the higher reason. It is the Atma Shakti getting reflected through the perspicacious intelligence in us you call the intellect. Intellect is of two kinds, lower and higher. Ashuddha Buddhi and Shuddha Buddhi. Shuddha Buddhi is the transparent intellectuality, rationality, which reflects the cosmic operations in their integrated form, whereas the lower one reflects the diversity seen by the sense organs. We are simultaneously living in two worlds, the world of phenomenality and the world of nominality. We are in the world of eternity and in the world of time. We are in the world of death and at the same time in the world of immortality. Viveka Shakti, Vichara Shakti, the capacity to investigate into the truth of the matter in this fashion is the precondition of attempting to sit and meditate. Unless the mind is free from the muddle of confused thinking, concentration will not be possible. People complain, mind is not concentrating. How will it concentrate? When the reason is dead, the senses are active and the body is impetuous. The inward restraint of these kind of forces that are contrary to the injunctions of our higher reason. This is the tapas that we have to practice. Tapas is not a torture. It is an educational process. When you study more and more and learn things larger and larger in their comprehension, your educational career rises from one level to another level. You move towards larger universalities. A person who is sufficiently educated can think in general terms, but a person who is not so trained, he will think only in particular terms. He will say, my land, property, mine, everything is mine. When he says mine, he means only this bodily individuality. But a person who is properly educated in the art of generalized principles can draw conclusions of a universal nature from particular instances. That person will be able to generalize the mental activity also, and then it is possible that the mind will yield. Unless the mind is satisfied, it cannot be made to work in any direction. An unsatisfied servant cannot do any work. You should see that the mind is not unsatisfied. It should not feel that you are bullying it and belaboring it, cudgeling it and bhajaning. That will not work. The mind has to be trained by an educational method, application of reason, which is called viveka, vichara, investigative capacity. Perpetually, we should be engaged in trying to probe into the structure of experience, like a scientist in a laboratory. The more he discovers, the less he is satisfied. He wants to know more and more of things. Distant things look near afterwards. Particularly located things look pervading everywhere when you generalize things. In this way, gradually, by effort of days and months and years, we must come back to ourselves. As I mentioned yesterday, coming back to ourselves is the most difficult thing ever. That which is far away can easily be seen and understood. But the thing that is nearer to us cannot easily be understood. And the nearest thing is your own self. So you cannot control yourself. The most turbulent, repressive element in us is our own selves. We can be masters of everybody. We cannot be masters of our own selves, because here, in our case, we are the teacher as well as the taught at the same time. We are the schoolmaster and the classroom at the same time. It is the mind that becomes the investigator and the teacher, and it is the very object that is to be investigated and studied. The mind is the subject and the object at the same time during the time of self-analysis. As nobody can understand how one and the same thing can be subject and object, it is not possible to handle the mind so easily. It requires satsanga. Good things should be dinned into our ears every day. Wherever you go, you should see and hear only good things being told. If you are not able to hear good things, go to a place where you hear good things. Because the habit of inundating the mind with good information adds to the strength of the mind in the direction of universalized perception. Apyabdhipanan mahata sumer unmulanad abhi vanyashana sadho vishamas chitta nigraha is a advice given by sage Vasishtha to Ramachandra in the Yoga Vasishtha. Don't be under the impression that you can subdue yourself. You can subdue anybody else, not yourself. You can drink the whole ocean of Dipana. You can simply shake the whole Himalayas, if possible. You can drink fire, but not control the mind. Vishamas chitta nigraha. Because who are you to control the mind? You yourself are the mind. The controlling activity becomes inoperative because here the controller is the same as the thing that is to be controlled. It is self-inwardization, also known as self-analysis, tending towards self-consciousness with the aim of self-realization. That art of the higher reason, which is purified of the dross of sensory desires, will help us. Years of effort may be necessary. You have to learn the art of being alone to yourself. I have mentioned all this in earlier days. Don't be always thinking of other people. You are sufficient unto yourself. You are your own strength and you are your own folly. All that is necessary for you are hidden inside you. You have only to bring it out. This conviction that all potency, all power, all that is necessary is hiddenly present in our mind will convince the mind that it has a self-sufficient comprehensiveness and it can be happy wherever it is. If you can convince yourself that you can be happy wherever you are, under any circumstance, because all that you need is potentially present within you and you can summon it at any moment. But if you cannot believe this, if you think that your welfare lies in others' hands, in other things, then the mind will go outwardly with the impulse of creation. The liberation of the spirit, you call moksha, is capable of demanding the greatest prize. What does God want from you? Not some banana, not some khichdi, not some prasad, apples and jam. No, because these things that you are offering to God do not belong to you. What really belongs to you should be offered. And what really belongs to you is your own self. Self-sacrifice or self-surrender, as you call it, is the act that pleases the universal being. No amount of study of the Veda, no austerity, no study of books, no charity, no philanthropy, no goodness that you can consider worthwhile in the social sense can touch the spirit which is unrelated to everybody else. Unrelated effort is the world. Any amount of thinking in terms of relationship with another thing weakens the mind. You have to think independently by yourself as an all-inclusive force sufficient unto yourself. You are complete in yourself and you do not want anything else. You are happy with what you are, not with what you have. Don't be satisfied with what you are, but be satisfied with what you have. Be satisfied with what you have. But don't easily be satisfied with what you are, because you cannot know what you are. Various shapes will be seen in what you are, and there will be kaleidoscopic, chameleon-like pictures of yours, and you can misguide your own self by imagining that you are a perfect being. Be humble before yourself. Humility, utter self-negation and self-satisfaction and not wanting anything outside. Belief in the perfection that is hidden in one's own self will bend the mind in the direction of perfection. Hari Om Tassat.